This meeting is
There we
being recorded.
Oh, now I hear her say it's recorded.
Awesome. So,
We're ready now.
this is take two. It is June 12th. We are the best group in Com 430 because we're flexible and we're a community. 6:29 p.m. on June 12th. And our goal today is to talk about organizational culture, the types of cultures we've experienced in the workplace, and if we believe leaders are able to shape culture and then tie ethics into that. And prior to not hitting record, I was talking about one of my former managers who we'll call Ron. And Ron had a business on the side outside of his normal day job. And Ron used to send folks out to run personal errands and pick up supplies and pick up food, things that were not necessarily related to the work at Wells Fargo at the time, but with his lackadaisical approach to time and constraints and internal company controls, all of his staff started also not paying attention to job quality, not paying attention to job satisfaction, not necessarily paying attention to any type of controls. And so people would come in and leave and come back whenever they felt like. They would go out to the parking lot and smoke during off-cycle breaks. And it was really somewhat unethical from his standpoint to use company resources for his side business. And that lack of ethics spread to everyone else on the floor and not paying attention to job quality, and customer service actually suffered as a result of him not necessarily taking an ethical approach to in leadership. So from there, as a 22-year-old, it was great at the time, but when I look back at it, I wince and cringe and think about what could have been if we actually had an ethical leader who pushed us to do more. We could have actually probably doubled our production. So that, in my mind, that is a negative influence on leadership. And then I think, Leah, you had an example of a positive one?
Yeah, I was talking about the company or organization Chick-fil-A. Just going off like the three elements of organizational cultures, I'm going to use values and symbols. So going off the values, I can tell that their values are very Christian based. They're not open on Sunday, so that's sort of like a symbol of like, hey, we take pride, or like we take this day for Christian faith, and all the employees also have the ability to also take that time to worship. And then also it shows in their customer service, and the language in which how they speak and how they speak to the customers, it also shows.
Yeah, I think with Chick-fil-A, if you look at, in the media, you don't necessarily see or hear of instances where employees are downright rude.
Mm-hmm.
Any type of issues are immediately taken care of. The times that you hear about Chick-fil-A, it's because of the Christian values, the being closed on Sunday, supporting their employees. So you're absolutely right. I mean, in terms of positive leadership, it's wonderful.
And also, like, it's even like a trendy joke on like social media where like they'll even say like, oh, the customer service is so good, they'll even change your tire, or like things like that. Like I've heard of like some situations like that. I don't know if it's actually true, but that's like the joke about Chick-fil-A because the customer service is so good.
Yeah, that the Chick-fil-A reminds me of, actually, I didn't even think of this, but another like chain like that. It's a drink. It's called Dutch Bros. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's popular down here now in Sacramento. But oh my goodness, like Dutch Bros is insane with the like younger crowd. So there is lines for this place, like around the block. They're just known for their customer service. When you order your coffee, it's not just like, hi, can I have this and this? It's, hi, how's your day? What do you have planned? This, like, you have a full-on conversation with them, and they like it's sometimes almost like crazy how good, like they just are always smiling, and then you get stamp cards, and this is what I love about it. This is why I probably always go. So when you get a coffee, you get a stamp, and then when like finally you get 10 stamps, the 11th drink is free. So, and then they do like 2 stamp Tuesdays, so you'll always catch me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So like it's just cool, like how their customer service, and they always make sure that the customer is satisfied. Like one time I forgot to say I needed coconut milk, and they like made the drink right there, like super fast. Like they're just super great at customer service. So totally get what you're saying about Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
So I have oh, sorry.
an
I have a
episode
question.
of Undercover Boss that talks about Dutch Bros.
Oh, I never heard of it. I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I never heard about it until I moved to Sacramento. I know Arizona. I think it is popular down there too.
Oh, yeah.
It's not everywhere. It started in Oregon by this young CEO. He's only like 30 years old, so it's definitely.
Oh, it's a West
like
Coast thing.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, Louisa, you said you had a question or something.
Yeah.
I did. Because, like, you guys are, like, how you love that organizational culture, and you love how, like, their customer service and all that stuff. And I know for us, they've encouraged that. But I know that a lot of people say, like, oh, I just want my coffee and I want to go. Like, I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to have a conversation with you. And we have that reaction a lot. So do you guys think that, like, rituals like that does it just depend on your customer and you have to read that? Or do you think that you should just do it no matter what? And then like take it with a grain of salt, I guess.
I definitely think that like you have a target market and like the demographic in which you're marketing towards, they can, feed off of that. Like obviously a person that's, that's not an extrovert is not going to go to that coffee shop, or they will go to the regular Dunkin' Donuts, hurry up, get their coffee and go on their way. If they want a better brew, it sounds like the brew is good at that very good customer service spot, but they can probably buy the grounds and make it at home, and they don't have to speak to anyone.
Right.
There's always options.
Right. And I going off of that, even with Chick-fil-A, I don't think the employees themselves should change how their company culture is due to a customer, because there's no other Chick-fil-A, but there are other chicken places. Same with, like Leah was saying, for the coffee places. If a customer goes into a coffee shop and they see it's very high energy, very engaging, and they don't like that, they can go to Starbucks. They can go, well, they're pretty engaging too. They can find another coffee spot that maybe fits more towards their personality, if that makes sense. But I don't think a whole company should change their culture due to some people and some customers not liking being super engaged. Because I know it's like that with Uber too. They introduced the silent feature because some customers don't like talking to their drivers on their way to different destinations.
I say that, like Lyft, I know like someone who started like driving with Lyft, and they had this like intro video on like how you should greet your customers, and they're like fist pump your customer, or the rider, and I'm like, some people may not want that.
Right. So I think it's definitely I want to say like the ball is in the customer's court, and they can kind of go wherever. But since the company is so much bigger than just that one customer, I don't think they should change their culture entirely, because that's what they're known for, especially with Chick-fil-A, like you mentioned, like giving the order and saying your pleasure, or my pleasure, instead of you're welcome. So that's them. That's who they are.
Yeah, and conversely, like when you're talking about like a chill spot, like Starbucks, I think it's supposed to be that. Going off the symbols of like organizational cultures, like Starbucks, I think they use like the psychological business color scheme. So like their colors are like a calmer color, like the forest green and the beige and white. Yeah, super earthy, and it makes you like more chill, and it puts you in that space to where you like can focus and think. So yeah, that's another part of symbols and values as well.
So if you think about it, we have three different companies, right? We have Starbucks, we have Dutch Brothers, we have Chick-fil-A. what are the three common things that those three companies have in terms of their organizational ethics? Howard Schultz, like, he's super pro-employee. I think the dude's name is Bob, the founder of Dutch Brothers. Very focused on great quality product, very focused on his employee. Chick-fil-A, same thing, very top-centric values that trickle down in the organization because they're positive organizational ethics.
Yeah, and it shows through their employees. Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, I feel like they listen to their customers. At least as far as I know, Starbucks, the guy, I don't know, there's so many people probably, but the owner, he would reach out to customers about drinks, and I read in the textbook too that he went as far as like asking people like, what's your favorite drink? Like, do you have a new one you'd like to contribute? And a lot of people would, be submitting these things. So it's just about communicating with people to, better your business.
Right.
I think I said it earlier in the chapter where it's like communication is not within the organization, like communication is the organization. And I think that, working there, it's like, that's exactly what it is. So whenever we do get memos or whenever we do get weekly updates, like it comes straight from them. So it's kind of nice to know that it's like they know what we're going through, and it's like they deliver their message to us specifically. So each of us can like read it and be like, hey, they're listening. You know what I mean?
Right,
so like the language they use is very inclusive. They're very aware of the effect that they have followers, and they're very aware of the effect that us as employees or as partners have on their leadership. So, I mean, I think they're really cool. And I'm not just saying that because I'm employed by them, but I think that they honestly like do really have very like cool ethics. And I think they're awesome.
And it also shows like a good point of like leadership, because like if you can have such a mass amount of employees displaying your like values and your mission, then I think you've done a great job. Especially
I feel that like everybody who works at the Dutch Brothers like loves like it there. Like they are literally a community. Like you pull up to one of those Dutch Brothers, and they just are having a good time serving customers. It's just super happy. Like the work environment is so chill. They have music blasting in the back. So I feel like it just makes you feel like, all right, like I'm kind of cool pulling up to this place, The environment's cool.
My first experience at Dutch Brothers, and I'm a Starbucks fan, and I have like 700 stars in my and so I pull into Dutch Brothers, and I got the music on. I'm kind of chill and trying to relax. It's like lunchtime. And this guy comes out with like a visor and like long hair and shorts and flip flops. He's like, dude, what do you have today? I'm like, what the heck is this guy? His positivity was so infectious that like I almost didn't need my caffeinated drink afterward because he hyped me up.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
At 4:00 in the morning, I'm not going to Dutch Brothers.
Exactly. That's how I feel.
Are they open 24 hours or something?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A part of the language that we use, actually, so apart from calling each other partners, is like when they train you. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like whenever like we hand you stuff, so we're supposed to say or not supposed to, but we're encouraged to say thank you to you. So like if I hand you something, you say thanks instead of saying like you're welcome. It's like no, thank you, because like you came in. And I
have noticed that. Wow. Yeah. I didn't like pick up on it, but I've noticed that. Yeah. You guys say thank you when we place the order. So
we have a model. So like you're making the drinks, and then at the very end, it's called finishing connecting. So you finish the drink, but you connect with the person that you're making it for. So it's like you give it to them and you're like, oh, hey, thanks. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I feel the connection level. That's I like that about the connection. Cause over here, I babysit my nephew, and we like always go to Starbucks because it's right across the street. So they know us. Like we walk in and everyone's like, "Hey, there's Justine and Kenny." Like, and they know my order and everything. They, "How you doing?" And they write my name, and they already know I want my scones. Like they know what's up, and they're like, "Have a good day." So like it's super cool. Like about like connecting with your customers. Like it almost makes me like want to go back there all the time, just because like they really do remember you and connect with you. So it's cool.
I do a ton of mobile. Speaking of the culture at Starbucks, and there are rites and rituals there. I do a lot of mobile orders where if I order in my driveway, by the time I get there, it's basically being placed on the table. So I went 4 days without ordering, and then went in on a Friday because I didn't have an early call. And the lady looks up at me and she says, "Fred, we've missed you."
Oh,
That's awesome.
I don't know you from Adam, but I missed you too, I guess.
Exactly.
Aw.
So, any examples of, aside from the one that I provided about like toxic leadership?
We have one currently, because we call it like a training and development store. So like we have a bunch of like high power leaders. So then our district manager sends people to us and they're like, okay, do whatever it is that you guys are doing, because there must be something right. And for the most part, a lot of people come out on top. Like, they grow, they learn to, take it step by step, and they do a really good job. But the one that we have right now, she's very reactive. And I think it's a little bit unethical, because when she talks to our manager, so the one that's training her, like, I got this, like, we don't need to go for this, you're doing. But then she'll turn around to us, or maybe to like, the district manager. And whenever she is asked to be, to speak for something, so like, why did this person quit, or like, why did this happen? She shifts the blame to everyone else. So she'll be like, well, I didn't hire them, they hired them. Or oh, it was them because they didn't fit in well with this. Instead of saying like, you know what, like, I'm going to speak for this. And even though it was somebody else's fault, I'm just going to be a leader and say, hey, you know what, it wasn't the right fit, or something like that. So I think when people, they don't necessarily have to like place the blame on anybody else, but when they don't accept it, that's a little bit unethical too, I think, in my opinion.
Do you think she's gonna last, or do you think she's gonna end up working over at the coffee bean?
She's definitely not working at Dutch Brothers. That's all I know.
Awesome. Any other example? Have you guys started taking a look at the written response about the negative leadership inside of media?
I haven't looked at it yet. Could you like briefly go over it? We can talk about it maybe? Unless you had something to say. Share about it.
No, basically you have to find some type of negative influence in a movie. It could be Pretty Woman, it could be The Avengers, where somewhere that someone is showing negative leadership. And the reason why I brought up negative leadership was it reminded me of another time where way early in my career I worked for McDonald's, and that's where I met my wife. Right out of high school, it was, hey, let's go for some burgers for a bit. And our district manager started to steal envelopes out of the safe. So there used to be a slot on the top of the safe that you could put your cash envelope for your register, drop it down into the safe, and then at the end of the night, all the envelopes would be counted. He figured out a way that he could get a coat hanger down inside the slot and pull it out, and basically take envelopes out of the safe and go off to the racetrack and go bet on the ponies.
Oh no!
No one caught him. People started getting written up until finally the regional manager put a camera in there and basically found him 15 envelopes out. But
wow!
By the time everything was said and done, like 6 different employees over the course of 2 years ended up being fired because their registers were short.
Oh wow, that's bad.
That kind of reminds me of just like incidents like that. I don't know if you guys watched the show Bar Rescue. Have you, any of you?
Yeah.
watch.
I've seen like 1 or 2 episodes, so I know.
Yeah. It's like my boyfriend and I love that show, but it's very much similar situations like that with a lot of toxic leadership. And that's the reason why the bars are failing, and they need the guy to come in and tell them what's going on, what's going wrong, whether it be just the leadership in general or the lack of communication or the organizational skills are just all over the place. So he comes in there and works with them, and sometimes that means having to fire some people if people can't get it together. And then obviously, like towards the end of the show, you kind of see a turnaround in the whole bar. But there's definitely, I personally haven't experienced negative leadership in any of the things I've done, but I know in that show that's a really good example of just like bad leadership and how to change that, like flip that.
Surprisingly, because we're such an awesome team, we're down to like our last 15 seconds of the.
Oh, wow.
Is there anything that we need to close on? I mean, we talked about the framework database before we started recording. We talked about a couple assignments before. We talked about examples.
I think we should touch on the last one really quick. If anyone has something for discuss how an individual's ethics shape their leadership.
I think
How it shapes the leadership.
Yeah.
Maybe we
yeah.
did
Someone did
kind of briefly.
Yeah, we did kind of briefly.
Yeah, we were touching on it because we were talking about how unethical ends up trickling down into the followers by.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think we covered everything then.
Yeah.
We're just that good. We don't even know it.
We didn't even know we were going in order. But
Even with the whole chapter missing, we did it, right?
Oh yeah, with your chapter.
That's why I was like looking at my pages. I was like, wait a minute, that's a chapter 12, and I was like, oh, I'm ahead, I guess.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording button here, and then if we want to keep on talking, then we can.